then we can remain very spiritually strong. So there's another analogy of how we can remain spiritually strong. And this is one of my favorite ones. So this is from the Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 18, verse 13. And it's spoken by Prahlada Maharaja. Some prayers of Prahlada Maharaja in the 5th canto, even though normally his prayers are in the 7th canto. And Prahlada Maharaja, he says, Harehi Saksha Bhagavan Shadini Nama Majashanam Ivato Yam Ipsitam Hidwamaham Samyadi Sajate Griyeta Mahatwam Vayasanta Patinam. The operative word in this verse is Jashanam, aquatics. So Prahlada, he says, just as a shark who stays in the ocean is powerful, and a shark who strays from the ocean is powerless, so if we stay in the ocean of Krishna consciousness, we remain powerful. If we stray from this ocean, we become powerless. So there's a nice compare and contrast story in this regard, and it's comparing Haridas Thakur, who teaches us what to do, versus another devotee named Ramachandra Puri, who teaches us what not to do. So for reference, so if anyone want to reference this story, let's see. This story is Haridas Thakur pastime is mentioned in a book, a scripture called Chaitanya Bhagavat, and the section is titled Madhya, chapter 10, verse 35 through 44. In the part regarding Ramachandra Puri, this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of our other scriptures, and the section is called the Antya Leela, chapter 8, verse 18 through 27. So, once upon a time, there was a great saint named Haridas Thakur, and he happened to be born in another religion, but he converted to Krishna consciousness. So one day, the members of Haridas Thakur's former religion, they approached him. They says, "My dear Haridas Thakur, if you convert back to our religion, then there will be no problem for you. But if you don't, then we will beat you in 22 marketplaces to set an example of what happens to someone who leaves our religion." So Haridas Thakur, he told them, "My dear brothers, just as the sun has many different names in many different languages, so also the one supreme God, he has many different names in many different languages. For whatever reason, the Lord is inspiring me to call him Krishna, and the Lord is inspiring you to call him something else. But that's no problem. We're all brothers and sisters." They weren't inspired. So they kept their promise. They literally beat him in 22 marketplaces. So after the first marketplace, they beat him. He survived a beating, a whipping. Then they took him to another marketplace. They beat him. And this is in Bangladesh or India at the time, 500 years ago. So in this way, after they came to the 22nd marketplace, and they were completely exhausted. It's like, how is he still alive? This is impossible. So it's described that Lord Chaitanya actually protected Haridas Thakur where he couldn't feel any other beating. It's like when you go to a hospital, how are you able to tolerate surgery? They give you anesthesia. So the Lord gave Haridas Thakur the anesthesia of the Yasyasi Bhatir Bhagavatiya Kinshana Sarva Gunis Tatra Samasate Suraha. He gave him the anesthesia of all the good qualities of a great saint, like forgiveness. So the moral of this, not only that, Lord Chaitanya says, he says, my Sudarshan chakra, one of his weapons, was ready to come down from the spiritual world and kill these religious fanatics. But Haridas Thakur, because you only saw the good in their heart, my weapon was powerless to harm them. So what's the moral of this story? The moral of the story is that Haridas Thakur was at the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong people, but because he had the right mentality, the ocean of Krishna consciousness, he remained very powerful and happy. A shark in the ocean is powerful and happy because Haridas Thakur remained situated in the ocean of Krishna consciousness, the ocean of forgiveness, mercy, love, compassion. He remained powerful and happy. So, in contrast, there's a story of Ramachandra Puri. So once upon a time, there was a very proud devotee named Ramachandra Puri. And he was surrounded by a community of devotees who loved him, who treated him with so much love, so much honor, so much respect, including one of our incarnations, primary incarnations of the Lord, named Lord Chaitanya. But he will always find fault with devotees, and the reason is that one day his guru name is Madhavendra Puri. Is that correct? Madhavendra Puri, I believe so. So one day his guru named Madhavendra Puri was on his deathbed, and he was crying in separation of Krishna. But Ramachandra Puri, he criticized his own guru. Can you imagine criticizing your professor at college? What will happen if you criticize your professor? You don't have no idea what you're talking about. You probably won't graduate, right? So he criticized his guru. He says, my dear Guru Maharaj, in the Gita, Krishna says, a wise person laments neither for the living nor for the dead, because the soul is eternal and indestructible. Na jayate na mriyate na kadachin. It's indestructible. So why are you crying? So it's described that he jumped to a conclusion. His Guru Maharaj was crying in separation from Krishna, not that he's dying or not that there's no life after death. He was just crying in connection with his relationship with the Supreme Lord, his love for the Lord. But Ramachandra Puri jumped to conclusions. And it's described because of this Guru aparad, this offense to the Guru, he cannot see any good in anyone. And so he would even serve people prasadam, food, just to find fault with them. He says, Prabhu, would you like some more food, some more prasadam? And they was like, yes, Prabhu, bring it on. Then he would call them, you're a pig. So he would serve them just to find fault. He even found fault with Lord Chaitanya. He says, my dear Lord Chaitanya, you're a sannyasi, but I see that there are ants in your rooms. That means you must be hiding some sweets. What was that, Angel? What was that fruit what was that fruit the other day? Huh? Acai. Apparently there's a fruit called acai that's apparently like the most natural, healthy, but like a sweet fruit that's almost like an intoxicant, almost, right? Something like that, or it's a superfood. Now I'm curious. But Donovan Prabhu had it the other day, and so did Sevananda, so he knew what Angel was talking about. So he said, you're hiding acai. You must be hiding a whole bunch of acai. Is that correct? Acai. And globulins and sweet rice. Because there's so many ants in here. And so in this way, Ramachandra Puri found fault with everyone. He couldn't see any good in anyone. So what's the moral of the story? I could personally relate to the story of Ramachandra Puri more than Haridas Thakur. So the moral of the story is that Ramachandra Puri, he was at the right place at the right time with the right people. But because he had the wrong mentality, the land of Maya, a shark that strays to the land is powerless and unhappy. So how do we know that we strayed to Maya when we're unhappy? I've never seen anybody look happy finding fault with others. You know what? They have so many faults. Is this really bringing you so much bliss? You know, they're this, they're that. So he strayed far to the land of Maya. So there's a saying. It says, and it's described, why should we respect people? Now, it's very counterintuitive. Is that correct? Counterintuitive to respect people who don't respect them. Now, Angel, would you respect somebody who doesn't respect you? Wow. All right, we have a great... That would be the goal. So at least, good. At least that's a goal we should be striving for. But most people, that's not even a goal. They're like, heck no. So it's counterintuitive to respect people who don't respect us. Like Haridas Thakur respected these people who didn't respect him. But it's also counterproductive, meaning we're actually hurting ourselves when we don't respect people who don't respect us. To make it clear, there's a nice saying. It says, a wise man was once asked, what is anger? He gave a very beautiful answer. He said, anger is a punishment we give ourselves for someone else's mistake. So actually, we're punishing ourselves when we don't respect people. So what's the conclusion? Therefore, in the Gita, Krishna says in chapter 14, Mam chayo abhyabhacharena bhakti yogena sevate saguna samati taitam brahma bhuyaya. Kalpate, this is a verse that's spoken by Krishna After Arjuna says, how can I remain spiritually enthusiastic? So Krishna says, treat honor and dishonor the same. Fame, infamy, happiness and stress. Why? Because if our happiness is only dependent on being honored and respected, then that means if nobody ever honored you, if nobody ever respected you, then you will never be happy. So Krishna says, focus on mamchayo abhiyabhichanena bhakti yogena sevate saguna samati taitam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Focus on the language of love.